Thank you, Ms. Doris, and it's a pleasure to see you in the chair. I would like to start by acknowledging the tremendous level of support and activism there has been throughout the country to both raise the profile of the BERCO 10 Years On report and the need to improve speech, language and communication support for children and young people. This support is essential to improve the lives of the over 1.4 million children and young people in the UK who have communication difficulties, too many of whom are not getting the support they need. I also want to welcome the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists who are present here today for all the work they have done. And I also want to put on record my thanks to Gillian Rudd from Birmingham City University, my constituency, for her work on raising awareness on this matter. The petition on Parliament's website regarding the BERCO 10 Years On report has over 10,500 signatures. And this demonstrates a real desire within the public to ensure that support for children and young people with speech, language and communication needs is improved, along with improved support for their families, carers, teachers and other professionals. The nationwide figures are stark. Over 10% of children and young people in the UK, some 1.4 million, have some form of persistent long-term SLCN, and in areas of social disadvantage, up to 50% of children can start school with delayed language or other identified SLCN. Across Birmingham, that translates to over 21,000 children and young people with communication needs, 7.6% of whom will have a developmental language disorder and at least 1% will stammer. These children and young people would likely benefit from long-term support in order to enable them to achieve their full potential. But let us not forget, we are also talking about the need for their parents, carers, teachers and other professionals to be supported and equipped with the skills they need too. Those who have difficulty with communicating can have problems with understanding and expressing themselves, including social interaction. Imagine for a moment not being able to make yourself understood, not being able to understand what is being said to you, and not being able to make friends or develop positive relationships. It is a truly frightening thought. Left unidentified and unsupported, these difficulties with speech, language and communication can have a huge impact on children and young people's life chances across a wide range of areas. Their educational attainment, behavioural issues, mental health and well-being, health inequalities, employment prospects and interactions with the criminal justice system. BERCO 10 Years On has demonstrated that more needs to be done to ensure better speech, language and communication support for children and young people who have SLCN. The Minister has written to me outlining some of the things that the government are doing, including focusing on closing the word gap at age 5 and working more closely with Public Health England to support health visitors and early year practitioners. This is a good start, but more needs to be done, particularly for the children and young people who need help beyond the age of 5. Can the Minister confirm what discussions his department has had with the Department of Health and Social Care and with the Ministry of Justice and Youth Justice Board regarding this report? Furthermore, what plan does his department have to extend their proposals to improve identification and support for SLCN for children over the age of 5? And as the Minister knows, I have written to the Prime Minister asking what the Department of Health and Social Care is doing in response to the report, given the need for specialist services. Joint commissioning between education and health and the impact of communication difficulties on mental health and health inequalities is absolutely integral. In separate correspondence with myself, the Minister of State for Care, the Honourable Member for Gosport, said, more needs to be done to ensure that children with a stammer are able to access the communication support they need, and that the Department for Health and Social Care and the Department for Education will be considering what more could be done to strengthen commissioning of communication support. And this interest from the Department of Health and Social Care is encouraging because, as the Minister will know, many children with SLCN are identified initially by health visitors, and as speech and language therapy services are most often commissioned and provided as part of the health system, it is essential that the Department of Health and Social Care plays its full part in responding to the report. And it is only with cross-government action that we can improve the life chances of all children and young people with speech, language and communication needs. BERCO 10 Years On makes a number of recommendations to improve speech, language and communication support for children and young people. the central of which is a cross-governmental strategy for children with speech, language and communication at its core. And I wish to place on record my support for the recommendations within this report. And with this in mind, will the Minister commit to introducing a cross-government strategy for children with speech, language and communication at its core? And as I come to the end of my remarks, I would also like to ask the Minister when the Government will formally respond to the Bercow 10 Years On report. The Prime Minister did commit to responding at Prime Minister's questions on the 21st of March. And finally, I would like to thank the Honourable Member for Taunton Deane for securing this very important debate, and of course the Speaker of the House, the Right Honourable Member for Buckingham, for his leadership in this area. We all recognise just how important communication is to our children, and I look forward to continuing to work with colleagues to ensure that we all play our part in helping to improve the life chances of all children and young people with speech, language and communication needs. If we do not, it is clear that we will be failing the next generation of children and young people. Thank you.